Welcome to Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. That's me. I'm Meredith, and I collect people. For real. You never know who I'm going to meet next. So come listen as I put my curiosity to good use. Every week, I'll introduce you to someone new, and we'll talk about ways to stay curious and grow.
So COVID-19 is unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime. And thanks to the internet, we've grown accustomed to instant answers, how-to videos, and information. Now that used to bring us comfort and answers, it's causing overwhelm and confusion. Families who were separated by long office hours and school are now up close and personal. The alarming percentage of Americans, Europeans, and Australians who have zero savings are now in a panic. And this is not Will Smith's next End of Days movie. It's Monday. My guest is going to help us keep it together. She initially went to school to be a dentist, but thank goodness she didn't. She's a counselor experienced in working with trauma victims using EMDR and Santre techniques, and the co-host of the I Get Better podcast. Today, she's going to help us get better, thank the Lord. Licensed mental health counselor, solution maker, here to help us not lose our shit, Phaedra Smith, everyone.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you.
I'm sure you can put that on some sort of like professional something like, we'll help you not lose your shit.
I'm going to find a way to incorporate that in my bio somehow.
If nothing else, a networking tagline.
Yes, absolutely.
So has being a counselor during all this made you like more calm, or are you losing it just like the rest of us?
I go in and out because you're a therapist at work. So it's like I put a hat on, and then when I'm not there, I'm like, now I'm just Phaedra. Like I'm a mom, I'm a wife. So I do think that therapy has helped me, but I really do think that that's been my own personal therapy, me investing in going to see my own therapist.
Wow, that says something about you as a therapist believing in that process so much that you are you're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you have like a mental health plan for your family? Like, is it really intentional or is it just flowing?
I don't know that sometimes it is intentional. When I see my kids panicking or having a rough time, I do go into therapy mom mode, and I'm like, okay, deep breathing, or go get your calming bottle. So we like made these bottles like years ago. And so they shake them and they do deep breathing with them. So some of it's intentional. And, I think it just kind of flows into this natural thing that becomes who you are.
Oh man. I mean, that's like goals for all of us. I think a lot of people are not feeling that right now.
No, I agree.
Yeah. I as you know, I asked on Facebook kind of like, hey, how is everybody doing? I'm going to record this episode. And you saw the replies. I think when I left to come record this, there was 68 replies. Now, some of those are me responding, but people, and that's not including the private messages that I got. Right. People are not doing so good. So I hope that you can help us, but I don't even know where to start. I tried to like categorize all the issues that people are going through: anxiety, depression, disappointment, because all of their stuff is canceling. I didn't even think about that, but there's graduations. My friend's dad just died, and they're not in the same state as where he was. So there's guilt for not being infected. I never even considered some of these things that people are going through. Right. And with a high percentage of people that do use antidepressant medicine, I think it's in the top 10 are America, Europe, or the UK, and Australia, which kind of represents my listeners also. We're in the top 10 of countries that use antidepressants. So you've got existing mental health issues there. So, girl, it's a cluster. Okay. So it is. I'm just glad you're here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I think that this is important, is an important topic.
Yeah, I agree, obviously. So where can we start? There's things we can control. There's, controllables, and then there's the not controllables. I think even just like trying to make a plan for families is overwhelming because decision making when you're under stress is intense, right?
Right. So I think the first thing we have to do is be intentional about creating calm and giving ourselves space to do that. Because if we're constantly in that fight or flight or freeze mode brain, then we don't make the right decisions. So what I teach my clients is the first thing you have to do, and it's kind of like when you get on a plane and they tell you the first thing you have to do in an emergency is take care of yourself. And so how can I help my children or my family or my friends if I first can't calm myself down and kind of put myself in my thinking brain? Right. And so when you are in your logical thinking brain, that gives you the space to be able to help others. And so how we get there is I tell my clients, ask yourself 2 questions. What am I feeling and what do I need? So am I feeling emotional? Am I feeling overwhelmed? And then what do I need? Do I need to take a long bath? Do I need to take a time out or take a nap? Do I need food? Do I need something to drink? Like, what are my basic needs? Are those covered? And then what else do I need?
So basic needs would be like the 4 walls, which is like shelter, food, utilities. I don't know what the 4th one is, but
yes.
Yeah, those.
But it's your basic needs. So, am I thirsty? Am I hungry? Am I tired? So if we can first do that for ourselves, we do that so many times for our kids or people around us. We want to meet everybody else's need, but what is going on with me and what do I need to fix it? And so, you brought up depression. And I also saw a lot of anxiety on some of the posts with the sleeping and stuff. And so,
a lot of insomnia.
Yeah. And anxiety is a huge thing. And I also thought about ADHD, all those folks sitting at home and
I'm raising my hand for all of you that are not watching on YouTube. I'm here and unmedicated, everyone.
Loud and proud.
Loud and proud. Girl, let me just rabbit trail on some ADD because the reason, I just created 2 rabbit trails. There you go. There's an example of ADD is when the reason that I asked all those questions on Facebook or asked that question, got so many responses on Facebook. The reason that I wanted to do that is because I only have my perspective. And so if I wanted to produce a podcast episode that addressed all the perspectives, I knew that I needed that input. But girl, I can speak for some ADD. Okay. I have never been officially diagnosed and I have never been medicated, but it's pretty obvious.
Right.
And also, I do occasionally experience some anxiety. I've never been medicated and I've never been diagnosed. So that's my disclaimer. However, I, as an ADD person, when I am feeling rises in anxiety, decisions are hard to make, like so hard to make. So just when you ask me like, what, ask yourself, how am I feeling and what do I need? I was thinking, holy balls, Batman. Like I wouldn't even know how to I don't know what I need. I need the world to calm the F down.
Right.
What I need. And then the other thing is I'll read a sentence over and over and over again.
Oh, you definitely have ADHD.
Yeah. Well, we just heard it here first, folks. My official diagnosis. It's really tough. I have so many different coping skills and I talked about them in the last episode when I addressed working at home. But your imagination is so strong. And that's the superpower of people with ADD is you have amazing thought resources, right? But then those thought resources, it's like the circus sometimes.
They just take over.
Girl, yes. So
I remember when my son first got diagnosed. First of all, I knew he had ADHD, by the way, but my husband, for whatever reason, needed an outside person to tell us.
Sure.
So whatever, we went and got it done, which was good because he was able to talk to my son and ask him questions even about sleeping. And so I remember him asking the question, when you are asleep at night or when you're trying to go to sleep, what are you doing? And so my son was like, I'm just looking at the ceiling. He's just staring off into space and he has his whole thing going on. And, but you mentioned you had to read the same sentence over and over. He was struggling in school with reading the same sentence over and over. He wasn't completing work, couldn't stay focused. And he's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
So helping him to get the tools that he needs, like he feels like a brand new person. So
yeah. So back to our original trail, rabbit trail concluded. So you were talking about depression, I think.
Yeah, well, depression and anxiety. One of the things I noticed a lot was a lot of anxiety. People keep staying up at night, and some people put on there some solutions also, which some people put, they use melatonin. They use essential oils. But one of the things I tell people is like set the mood, your nighttime mood, set the mood so that you start to train your brain to know when I smell this smell, when I hear this song or this sound, or when I get this bath, this is me telling my brain to wind down. And also having something by your bedside that has like maybe a notepad for all the thoughts that are ruminating in your brain, to just jot those down for the next day. Because what your brain wants to do is get it out. Yeah. So let it do what it needs to do. The energy that you're feeling on the inside that's just overwhelming you, like find a place and time to get it out before bed. So whether that looks like going for a walk or jog, or just doing yoga in your house, doing some jumping jacks, like whatever you need to do to get the energy out, let it, it's going to keep you up. So paying attention to not just what you feel, but also what is my body telling me it needs to do right now? It's telling you something. And so we have to get accustomed to meeting our own needs and spending time with our thoughts and saying, what do I really need right now? Do I need some comfort? And then what kind of comfort can I give myself?
Mm-hmm. I never thought of anxiety as energy, but I really like that reframing of it, because I feel like when I just repeated that in my head of I have energy versus I have anxiety, I feel less like a victim. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a cool, because I immediately, now I feel real self-conscious about my ADD disclosure, because immediately I play a lot of movies in my head. So immediately I imagined me doing push-ups in my living room, which is something I did recently, but as a way to get that out. But the other thing that I'm hearing you say is that a routine is something that needs to happen. So for those families that are not routine at the moment, maybe because they were like, oh, it's spring break, because it was in Escambia County, Florida, it was spring break, and now it's Corona break.
Right. It's just life.
Correct. Yeah. So they need to, what's a way that families who, were separated, as I said in the intro, with school and work schedules, who are now crammed together in one space, how can they adjust and create a schedule with each other?
Right. I think being intentional, again, that's the word of the day, is intentionality. But sitting down as a family and coming up with some sort of schedule. So for us, our schedules are all over the place. So we talk the night before about what the next day is going to look like. And so I know when I have my sessions planned out, and I know what that's going to look like. And then we coordinate with the children. So getting a schedule, I think, is very important. And I told somebody this the other day. It is important for us as human beings to feel like we have a purpose. Like, it's important. And so spring break is one thing, but then we need to get our lives back on track, because it's going to affect you. It does affect your mental health to just be sleeping all day, to not getting up, putting pants on, to not get up and wash your face and brush your teeth. Those things really affect you guys. So even just the small things of making a routine to say, I'm not going to make myself get up at 8 o'clock on the dot every day, but I will set a range between 8 and 10 o'clock. I'm going to be up and getting ready for the day. And my children are going to be up getting ready for the day. And then what do we want to look like Monday through Friday? What do we want our schedules to look like?
Mm-hmm. I could see where that family meeting would come into play, because if in most families it's the mom that makes those, enforces those rules and makes those rules. But so I could see where it would be important for mothers who maybe are used to, like, that's their solution. Take charge, enforce the rules. I could really see where coming together and creating the rules together would create more ownership. and the kids would be able to, it actually probably would give the kids an opportunity to express what they need too. Cause maybe
Absolutely.
I think we underestimate kids. Sometimes they can tell us what they need.
Yeah, I agree. I actually read an article the other day about just talking to your kids about the coronavirus and how do we do this and how do we allow them to have that space, and I didn't think about this, but because my schedule, we have to regroup every night what the day is going to look like. I started to incorporate my children because they needed to know that they weren't going to be, the plan was to go over such and such's house, and that's not the plan anymore. And I needed to be able to explain to them why that wasn't the plan and allow them to express their fears or ask their questions and say, that's not fair, and get it all out in the open. Because it's not fair and they have their feelings. And I think one of the worst things you can do as a parent, and a lot of us do it, until you know better, you just do it. But we do shut down our children's feelings. And I don't know about you, but I remember as a child having moments where my feelings weren't heard or validated. And those things stick with you in life. And so hearing them out and explaining what's going on without, putting a massive amount of fear in them, but explaining to them what's going on in the world in the best way that their little brains can understand it, letting them voice their concerns or their feelings, and then also letting them know that plans may change from day to day. And so we'll meet as a family and talk about that.
Yeah. So when you personally, are you doing that over dinner? Like, what's that look like for you? Because I think for a lot of families, we've got big brother is gaming, little brother is doing something else. Dad's trying to, I always picture like my dad worked in his shop a lot, which is what he called the garage. Dad's in the shop, just tinkering and doing his own thing. I don't know what mom's doing, but like, giving the all call for everyone to come in, like that was never a popular thing for us, but we were unusual. For most American families, we would sit down every night at 5:30 and we had dinner. And so if there was something to get talked about, usually got talked about at dinner. Right. So, I mean, what do y'all do? And what's a practical way that other families can kick this off who are less structured in their day to day?
Right. So we're like what I call like semi-structured because we have some ADD over here also. So we have like a range of things, but it's either for us going to be at family dinner time, which we try to have a sit down dinner at least 2 to 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. Or it's for me, it's right before bed because of course that's what my brain wants to like, da, 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 da. But for us also is right before bed. And so I normally pull everybody into the room and we sit on my bed and we just talk. And so somebody taught me this and I started doing this. They asked their children, what was the best part of your day and what was the worst part of your day? And so I started doing that with my children. And so keep that up. Even though you're home together all day, you don't know what's going on with them all the time. So even just being sure to check in with them with that. What's the best part and what's the worst part? That allows them to voice what's going on and you to kind of keep that line of communication open.
That's good. I love that.
Yeah.
What about extended family members? Some of the comments that we got, and I can really identify with these feelings, is the stress of maybe more vulnerable family members not self-isolating or not understanding why they need to self-isolate. We've got senior citizens that are in long-term care facilities who can't have visitors. And for a lot of them, they're having end of life fear. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, they're having that isolation. So how I kind of doubt that anybody in that age category is listening to this podcast just from a technology standpoint. Right. So can we speak to the family members of those? How can we help them now that we know how to help ourselves? Because you kind of covered, all right, put on your own oxygen mask, ask myself, how am I feeling? What do I need? Mm-hmm. We talked about the nuclear family unit. So now how can we help those outside of our home who are related to us?
One of the things I told somebody the other day was, I think putting ourselves in the mindset of like pre-technology is also going to be good, because we do have to start to think outside of the box. How did people used to connect? So, but even with the phone, and I don't know, some elderly people, are not at an age where they are still using the phone. And I know my grandma, she has no internet, there's nothing. She has internet because my uncles put it there, but she does not have a computer and does not have a phone except for a house phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they have to go over to check on her daily, one of them still. But even just writing down your thoughts and stuff, guys, there's an element of this thing that puts us in a situation where we don't have control over some things, and so finding ways that I can still get my needs met. And so what that might look like is writing a letter and mailing it to them, and doing something with the family, the kids draw pictures and mailing it to them, or sending pictures and stuff like that. Calling, FaceTiming if they have that capability, doing things to connect that maybe we've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing.
Yeah.
But it will also create quality time with the family to sit down and say, what do you want to write to Nana and, Papa, what do you want, what kind of picture you want to draw together? And, I think those things I like getting letters.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love happy mail.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are some ways I think to connect, and also being vulnerable with who you have as a support system to say, hey, I'm really struggling today. I miss my grandma, or being able to let the kids say that. I think those things are valuable. But again, if we don't create space for ourselves, then we can't hold space for other people easily.
That's so true. And some of us it's harder to express how we feel.
Yes.
So my husband and I, he has a wonderful linear thought process, right? Mm-hmm. So he has a mantra for me. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of having your spouse make a mantra for you, but it's great. I highly recommend it. He says, focus and follow through, Meredith, focus and follow through. And you know what? I laugh, but it has helped me so much. He's like, you don't need 12 internet tabs open. I'm like, well, what if I'm going to go back to one? He's like, will the internet go anywhere? No, you can go back. So he has helped me a lot. But my strength is not being linear in thought and letting those thought processes go in different directions, and using creative words and repurposing them in order to communicate what I think. However, when you put those two people together in a stressful situation, we're communicating very differently. So we came up with a number system. So 1 is everything's cool, nothing's going on. 10 is hair on fire. I'm going to pass out because I'm having an anxiety attack.
Right.
And so every once in a while we're like, hey boo, what's your number? And he'll be 3 or 4, and I'll be like, okay, I'm a 6. Can we hug? And we just stand and hug, and it down regulates or something. And it just makes us feel better. And then we can go and, talk to the family member who decided it'd be a good idea to drive to Orlando right now.
Oh, wonderful.
That's not a real example at all. I know that you spent a lot of thought and time thinking about other ways to help the listeners. So I know I've been selfishly asking you my questions.
No, this is good.
Because I want to make sure I get them answered. But I would love to hear, with less of my interruption on my part, what you wanted to share to help.
Yeah, I jotted down a few things. And it's just so much. I'm probably not going to get to everything because I don't, I want to be mindful of our time. But one of the things I wrote down was our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are linked. So it's very important during times like this to monitor your thoughts. Mm-hmm. What am I saying to myself? What am I telling myself? What am I creating as the worst case scenario? Right. So if you think of it like a triangle, you would have your thoughts at the top, and then at the right corner, you'd have your feelings. And then at the left corner, you'd have your behaviors or actions. So if my thought is we're all going to die, I'm probably going to be feeling anxious or maybe even depressed. And then so my behavior might be, that I am isolating, not in a good way. And so what am I telling myself? And then how can I stop those irrational thinking, that irrational thought? And what do I need to say to myself to combat that thought? No, we're going to be okay. Or if you're religious, God is in control. Mm-hmm. Whatever that looks like for you, but capturing the thoughts is going to be so important for you in this time, because it truly does affect how you're feeling. And then using those coping skills, like getting out in nature and going for a walk if you can, perhaps some social distancing, or sitting on your patio and having a cup of coffee or tea or water or whatever but being intentional about saying to myself, what is it that I need? I need to create some space for myself. It's okay to walk away from my family without guilt for a moment. Like, we're all together. We might need to be separated for a minute so that we all don't set each other's hair on fire.
You touched on something really big right there. Yeah. So I'm going to try to hold that thought right here and then, but address coping skills 101. But shoot, it's gone. Dang it. I hate when that happens. Man. Okay. So I'll just go on that rabbit trail. Okay. Introverts right now are having trouble because they have people they can't get away from, honestly. Mm-hmm. And there's no privacy. Extroverts are having trouble too, because they're being told what to do. And they're being told that they can't see anybody. And I mean, it's like a stirring inside of them, that an antsiness, and that's really snowballing into a lot of anxiety. I just found my other thought that was living over here.
You should say it out loud, and I can remember them.
Yeah, I do. Well, it's connected now, so it's actually working out pretty good. Is when you said capture those thoughts, such a great point, right? Because awareness is in every 12-step program. Mm-hmm. It's step number 1. Mm-hmm. But for the introverts that can't find that time because now they're supposed to be homeschool teachers and they may still be working from home under a boss who's not accustomed to letting his employees have any autonomy. So he's sending constant and annoying, controlling emails to a husband who, whatever your relationship is with your husband or your partner, now that's amplified because you're in a closed space. So, they can't find the quiet that they need, and the extroverts can't easily access their friends that they need to talk it out. Because sometimes that's how extroverts do it, right? I mean, I don't know if that's an introvert extrovert thing, but so do you have any practical tips for those? I'm obviously very prone to practicality.
Yeah.
Do you have any practical tips for the introvert and the extrovert on how to access those thoughts in order to capture them?
I think creating a quiet time, allowing this is one of the things I said to someone. This person I know was telling me how they were at some place and they all of a sudden started having this panic attack, but they made themselves just sit there and just work through it. Mm-hmm. And I said, why did you do that? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And I said, if you entered a dark room and you felt panicked and there was a light switch and you didn't want it to be dark anymore, what would you do? And he was like, I would turn on the light switch. And I said, I think that we need to give ourselves permission to do what we need to do. Because if not, we sit there and we panic and we suffer and we don't have to. So to the people that are suffering, I'm going to say this again. Please remember to ask yourself, what am I feeling and what do I need? Sometimes you just need to say no. Sometimes I need to set boundaries. This is right now is the time in your life where you're probably going to need to set some boundaries and say, this is the time that I'm going to be doing work. And then this is the time I'm going to be doing my own stuff so I can breathe. Right. This is the time I have with my kids because I have to focus on them. We're in a day and time where our schedules cannot look the same. I can't sit at a computer for 8 hours uninterrupted because my kids are running around the house. Mm-hmm. So again, looking at my calendar the night before and structuring my day with my family and saying, this is how it's going to look, kids. Mommy's going to need some quiet time during this time. And during that time, daddy's going to do this, or you're going to be here. And I know not everybody has that support, but we have to think about what resources do we have right now? And then how can I best use these resources?
That's so good. You have to change your expectations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's such a great tip. I think that will help people a lot, because if your expectation was working an 8-hour day straight with a 45-minute lunch, and that was your pattern, and you expect the same pattern but under a different roof, you're gonna really, really struggle. That's so good. I love that. Yeah. Talk to the people about how to feel less trapped. Is there any mind shifts that we can make just to feel less in a corner? Because as we continue down these weeks, we're probably going to have some tighter restrictions in order to flatten the curve, as they say. And unfortunately, for people who are planners, there is not a lot of definite data. There's not a lot, there's no clear light at the end of the tunnel. There's no finish line. So for people like, and I'm in this category, I'm a goal-oriented girl. Right. So I'm like, you give me a goal, all right, let's do this every day. We're working towards the goal. But if you keep messing with my dang finish line, I'm going to get pissed. Quit changing the rules of the game as the game is being played. And that's exactly what's happening right now, is the rules of the game are being changed as it's being played. And we're all just told to hold on. But for some who have been laid off and they don't have any work at home options, they've expressed that they feel like a useless person. They feel purposeless, and for those that are trying to homeschool their kids, they're feeling failure. And for those that need to feel progress and traction, they feel like they're just slipping all over the place with no traction, that everything that they do every day gets undone. And they're reminded it every day when they wake up and there's dirty dishes and they're like, I just did those and they've got work. So how can we feel less trapped, more grounded, more progress, even if that is self-manufactured for the time being? Right.
So as you were saying, people feel like, I don't have a purpose, or I don't know what to do, or I can't find my footing. So the things that I when I think of this is, I think this is also such an amazing opportunity for us, because we get to find new purpose. When will we ever get this chance in life to be forced to find new purpose, to be forced to challenge ourselves to change and to do something different, to be forced to be around our children that we sometimes are really upset that we only see them 3 hours a day during the day? When are we going to get this time? And so I remember when I could not find a job. I did everything I could. It was just not the season for me. And I was forced to be a stay-at-home mom. And I remember really, really struggling with that. And then I remember thinking, this will not last forever. And I don't want to look back and regret not embracing this moment with my children, and not embracing this time that I could be sitting outside doing sidewalk chalk with them, and not embracing this time that I can read them a book or tell them a story before they go to bed, or embracing this time that I can spend more time with in devotion or prayer or meditation. So what I want to say is, life is forcing us to live outside the box and to do things differently. And a lot of time anxiety and depression comes in when we're trying to put ourselves back in the box. Guys, the box is gone. Okay?
Amen.
And it's okay. This is out of your control. And we can't, if you constantly are battling with trying to control the things that you can't control, you're in a failing war. So let's get back into our circle of control, and let's focus on the things that we do have control over. So I can get up and I can get dressed today. I can brush my teeth and I can get my kids ready for the day. I can set up a pool outside and let them play outside in the water today. I can spend some time with work and then set a time aside to have lunch with my kids today. These are the things I can control. And so I encourage the listeners to really focus on the things that you can. So one of the exercises that I have done myself personally in my own therapy, but I also have recommended to clients, is you draw a circle on a sheet of paper, which I don't know if people can see this. Can you see that?
Okay, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. But it's very simple. It's just a circle. And in this circle, you put things that I can control. And you write down, and what you're going to start to see is the things that you can control are all the things that are related to you. And all your worries are going to be written on the outside of that circle. Those are the things you most likely you cannot control. I can't control my almost 80-year-old grandmother that refuses to stop going to church. I can't control that.
I feel like that's a real example.
It is a very real example. I cannot control the church that she goes to that continues to have services.
Lord.
I can't control the people that are buying up all this toilet paper and food, even though they're restocking every day. I can't control these things. I can't control how I react to those things. I can't control how much social media I'm letting into my life on a daily basis. I can't control how much news that I'm watching on a daily basis. And I was talking to my mom about this last night, that if I feed myself toxic things all day long, guess what I'm going to feel? I'm going to feel toxic. And so setting boundaries around how much social media you're spending, how much time you're spending on social media and watching the news. Like it's important to stay informed, but I think that if it's affecting you in a negative way for your mental health, I think we need to set some perimeters around those things also.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Controlled consumption.
Yes.
That is so good.
Yes. I don't know if I answered the question or not, but
I think you did. You've given us such good nuggets, and I'm going to try to summarize. And then if there's anything else that you want to add, then definitely add it. So first thing, just like an airplane, oxygen. What am I feeling? What was the second one?
What do I feel? How do I feel? And those are feeling words: happy, sad, anxious, whatever.
Right.
And what do I need? So how do I meet those needs?
Okay. What am I feeling and what do I need? Circle of control.
Yes.
And the theme of everything that I'm hearing you say has to do with structure. And I think some people are going to love that. I'm one of those people. I really thrive in structure. Although I've worked from home for about 16 years, I create my own structure. But everything that I hear you say is not possible without intentionality. So intentionality and structure, but it looks different for every family. Yes. So these lovely, lovely people who are posting all of their hand-sewn crafts and cookies and perfectly organized closets, I am inspired by that, I will say. So I'm not shaming them, but I think that there's another group of people who see that and it makes them feel overwhelmed. So that those people can practice controlled consumption, but just also having the knowledge that your structure, your schedule is going to look different in your family. And as you pointed out, it looks different every day, and that's okay. And I love that you said, it's a range. I don't need to be like dressed and ready to go at 8 a.m., but my range is going to be 8 to 10 a.m. That's so freeing for people who don't like structure.
Right. Yeah. I need structure, but I don't like structure. Like I'm a weird, like I need to be like in this area of this is the range that we're in. And so about this time, I need to have a cutoff time or it will never cut off. But it's so I think it's so important for us to stay functional and to stay like we feel like we have a purpose. And I want to say this because I think this is so important. Have grace for yourself. Some days will be more easier than other days. And the days that is hard, again, if I'm not in a good place, I can recognize that and say, today I may need to stay in the bed a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Today's not a day I'm going to be like doing all these arts and crafts with the kids. Today's a day where they might have to be on Netflix for a little while longer today. like giving yourself, again, I'll allow myself to give myself space and room and kindness and extra love and comfort, because if I don't do it for myself, how can I extend that to others?
Yeah, that's so true. And just having the freedom that every day is an experiment in that self-care, that, it can't, like for me, I can't eat that bag of chocolates every day. Like it's not a good plan. So, but some days I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to eat some chocolate. But the other day, self-care means I'm going to exercise. So these tips were so good. Can you tell people how to get in touch with you with your private practice, your podcast, your website, all the things?
Yes. So my private practice is, the name of it is called Greenhouse Counseling. The website is greenhousecounselingfl, as in Florida.com. You can reach me on there. And you can email me via the website, or you can find us on social media. We have a location here in Pensacola, Florida, and we have one in Clearwater, Florida. And my phone number is 850-329-5349. And I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to give out a little bit of information for some folks that might need some immediate care.
Yeah.
There are places, I am offering telehealth, which most places are offering that. So that's virtual counseling sessions. But there, as a reminder, there's a National Suicide Prevention Line. It's 1-800-273-8255. I think a huge part of this is recognizing that when I ask myself, how am I feeling and what do I need? Being honest with yourself is going to be so important. If you're in a low place, it's okay to reach out for help. That goes back to having grace and being honest with yourself. We have all had those times where we are just not doing well. And so I encourage you to reach out for help and to not let shame back you in a corner, because when we're feeling low, we're not thinking in our most rational, brain. And so this is a time where you may need a little bit some more support, and that is okay. So also it just kind of came to me this morning because I also work for Lutheran Services Florida. And we a part of our services is offered at the Gulf Coast Kids House. And I work a lot with sexual and physical abuse. And so I just want to remind everybody that all adults in the state of Florida are mandated reporters. So if you see or know of any vulnerable adults or children that are suffering child abuse, to please call the hotline. That is 1-800-96-ABUSE, 1-800-962-2873. And then the last thing I want to share is the Curry House. That's also another Lutheran service. It's a shelter for young children, or 10 through 17, and they provide short-term residential sheltering and counseling for runaways and troubled youth. And so there are parents that they're struggling with their kiddos, and they're feeling like, they might be about to be abusive, or some things are happening. They can't get their kids under control. I'm not sure what their availability is right now, but that is another resource. It's called the Curry House. And so I just wanted to give y'all those resources, because there is a lot. And we have 211, we have UWF that are providing services to staff and students. You have the crisis text line, which is you can text Gulf to, and that's 741-741. You have the Lakeview Mobile Response Team. There's a lot of resources out here. Please don't hesitate to email me or even, Meredith, and I can give her the resources. But I love that our community is here to support us all. And so please don't think that you're alone. Do not allow shame to put you in a dark space to say, I'm alone and I'm embarrassed about being alone. You're not alone. Do not let irrational thoughts and become your facts of life, because that's not true. Please don't hesitate to reach out, because I will remind you that's not true.
Yes.
So
that's so good. And the resources that you mentioned are American resources, but if somebody not in the United States, wanted to reach out and do a telehealth, I think you said, video chat, then that would be okay?
Well, for most people, you have to be licensed wherever you so I can't really do it in, let's say, Alabama, because I'm not licensed there.
Okay.
But what I can do is try to find you resources.
Okay. So you're good for everybody in Florida.
Yes.
And then they can always get in touch with the show, or maybe we can find those resources and kind of put them in the show notes.
Yep.
Which if you're new to the show notes come out on Saturday. I send out an email kind of recapping what was spoken about on the show, clickable resources, pictures of my guests. To be included in that, just text REAL to 66866, put in your email address, and then you're in. So thank you again, Phaedra. This was amazing. And I also want to thank everybody who wrote in and contributed to this episode. So I'm just going to give them a quick shout out, because that took a lot of guts to comment publicly and say, I'm not okay. Here is how I'm not okay. Send help. So I want to thank Hillary Malema, Heidi Sampson, Kimberly Booker, Rebecca Arcelay, Dory Nurse, Catherine Patchke, Grace Hooker Coleman, Sissy Dittrich, Crystal Sillins, Elizabeth Kilpatrick, Jamie Dickerman, Rachel Mock, Lauren Bogus, Melody DeCarlo, Tracy Jones, Leah Weber, Faith Evans, Bonnie Crawford, Melissa Coates, Liz Chambers, Callie Edwards, Amelia Velasco, Carla Holman, Kayla Rigby, Katie Galuli, Leslie Donovan, Kendra Lynn, Rena Blanco, Kyle Hooks, Candace Lafitz, Stephen Dittrich, Melanie Pine, and a few Laura Marlowe, and then a few others who privately messaged. So thank you again. This episode is gold, my friend. I so appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. And if you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube and it meant something to you, share it with a friend. Send it to one person and just let them know that you're there for them. That'll create a sense of purpose and connection for you, and a sense of support and community for them. So stay curious and grow, everyone. Thanks again. Thanks, girl. You did awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, share it with your friends and leave a review. You can also watch the episodes on YouTube. There's hidden curious caches in each episode, and the first 2 people to find them win a prize. So be sure to get my emails for clues and other insider perks at meredithforreal.com.